What's going on, everybody? We're back. It took last week off just due to some busy schedules, but it's Ryan Anderson, it's Jackson Muniz, it's the Gallop Out. We got Travers Day coming up this Saturday, August 23rd. First, happy birthday to Matthew DeSantis, the guy who quite literally never stops making content. So I hope he's having a good evening. Hope he's relaxing, and I'm sure he's making some Breeders' Cup video or Travers preview card at the dinner table. But we miss him. We miss Kaylee. Hope to have them both back on again with us soon. But Jackson, how are you doing?
Doing good, man. Feel a lot better. I bet dry powder in that Parks race today, and she smoked him. So I feel validated that I bet her at Saratoga, and she came back and won today. Can't complain. Can't complain. Ready to
there we go.
It should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, this card's going to be very exciting, as the Travers Day card normally is. We're going to be talking about 5 Grade 1 races. All of them are taking place on dirt. And Jackson, it wouldn't be a big NYRA show if we weren't joined by our friend who is all over the airwaves. He never stops during Saratoga. He never really stops in general. But Andy Serling, welcome back to the show. How are you today?
Thanks for having me. Missed you guys.
Missed you too. How's the summer been treating you up at Saratoga?
Okay, a couple of slow days after Wednesday, but things have gone okay. It's always a struggle up here, but it's gone okay. How's Del Mar going?
Del Mar's fantastic. The weather's always the best part. That coupled with the racing, it's tough to be beat. But the weather at Saratoga's been pretty nice all summer, so I like it. And I won't even talk about the weather coming up this weekend.
Yeah, no, it's supposed to be a rain out tomorrow on Wednesday, but after that, it looks glorious. Hopefully through the end of the meet. So, and importantly, it looks like it's good weather for Travers Day, so that's what matters the most.
Yes, no doubt. I hope it stays that way. This is a fun card to handicap, and I didn't realize actually until we were about to go live that all 5 of these races are on dirt. I kind of like that. That's gonna be very cool to handicap. Obviously, it's a very competitive races, but I'm excited to get on into it. And thank you, Andy, for providing us with your top picks. So many days out. I'm not surprised that you've already done the work, but of course, probably subject to change as we get closer.
Yeah, I don't want to be married to some in the sense that I think there's some scratches we'll talk about that could change things in races or potential scratches. Hopefully, there are no scratches, but so people can always check NYRA.com or watch Talking Horses to see my final picks. But I'm assuming I'll be pretty much staying with these unless there's dramatic changes in the scratches or something.
I like it. You're always entitled to change your opinion as circumstances change in the race. So that's also linked in the description. So pay attention to that as we get closer to the race day. Jackson, if you or I have any changes, I'm sure we'll tweet them out. But we'll see.
You've already made about 3 changes from when you texted me yesterday. So
correct. Well, I'm always able to make some changes as I go through. I love to text preemptively to you guys. With absolute first thoughts, and then we go from there when we finalize everything. So without wasting any more time, let's get into it. We'll start with race number 9. We're going 9 furlongs on the dirt. It's the Grade 1 Personal Ensign Stakes for fillies and mares 4-year-olds and upward. Let me throw the picks up on the screen. We're all landing on the same horse to start us off here. That's the number 6, Leslie's Rose. I went 6-4-3, Jackson 6-4-7, Andy 6-1-7. So before we start with Leslie's Rose, let's just start with your morning line favorite, Torpedo Anna, the Grizzly Bear. Jackson, we'll start with you because I know you have some strong thoughts on Torpedo. You and Andy both have her third. I probably should have. I was supposed to be 6-4-7 in here. I'll change that. But Jackson, we'll start the conversation with you. Why do you think Torpedo is vulnerable in this spot?
Yeah, change that so you can copy me exactly like you always do, my man. Look, she's the horse to beat in here, no doubt about it. And I just 6-5 on this horse. It's the same argument we've had the last few races. Like, she is not any faster than anyone else in this field. Everyone else in this field, even including the 5 who's 20-1, has run numbers that are just as fast as her in this race. Why would I want to take 6-5 on her? I mean, she just hasn't done anything this year that really wows me. And makes me think she's, bettable at a short price. And that's kind of it. I'm not going to be surprised if she wins at all. I mean, she's the horse to beat. She could jump up again and run back to that Saratoga form. Maybe she's a Saratoga horse for course. That won't shock me, but I'm not going to be betting her in this spot. I think you're supposed to bet against her.
Yeah, she's certainly a 9 furlong specialist. She has not lost going the mile and an eighth, but you mentioned it, horse to beat. The horse, though, that has come on in her 4-year-old season is the 6 Leslie's Rose. Andy, we all ended up with this one as your top pick. What led you to pick Todd Pletcher and Irad on top here?
Yeah, I'll add on Torpedo Anna. I don't think there's any validity to the notion that she likes Saratoga. I think those things are basically overrated crap. And she ran so well in Kentucky Oaks and even at Oaklawn last year. I don't think her Saratoga races, except for her incredible race in Travers, were really anything different than her other races. She just, like you said, she hasn't done anything. She's not the same horse that she was. I don't think anybody that wants to say that, I just think is sort of wrong. But so you sort of have to bet against her. I guess she could win, but I don't want her. As far as Leslie's Rose, maybe she was 4-1 last time you get the money in the Shoe V, and she's not a great bet at a similar price in here. But I just feel like she's the one that's been better on a dry track this year. She's the one that's kind of moved forward. She should get a decent trip with pace in here. I would bet randomized if Bernie Takes Charge opts to run on Friday. If Bernie Takes Charge opts to run on Friday, I'm going to go 1-6-7 in this race. Because I think randomized is faster than the other horses, and she's training well, and she ran very well last time. And I think the good randomized might be the second most likely winner of this race at worst in here. But with the 5 in here, I worry the pace might get a little too hot. I still would consider betting her. I just would rather at similar prices bet on Leslie's Rose, who I think it, ran well in that return race in the vagrancy and ran well last time. I just think she's a very logical horse in here, and she doesn't have to need to lead, but she's not so slow that she can't sit close. I just think she makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I certainly share in a lot of what you said. I think she makes a lot of sense in here. Jackson, anything to add there?
Not really. She projects to get a good trip in here. Even if the 5 comes out of this race, I do feel like she's tactical enough where she can still put herself into the race and be close enough, maybe. I want to ask you guys if you put any weight into the fact that, Pratt is riding Raging Sea instead of randomized, because obviously I would assume he had his choice. But any thoughts on that?
I can answer that because I talked about it with Chad Brown last night. Actually, it was Pratt's choice. Pratt chose to ride her. His feeling was that she could have won the Breeders' Cup Distaff last year, and that he wants to stick with her as a horse he feels is just more likely to win it. I disagree with him, but I think Flavian's pretty sharp. I've seen nothing from Raging Sea to suggest that she's any good anymore. I thought her last race was just atrocious. I'll give her a pass 2 back, but I can't give her a pass for her last race. Maybe she'll wake up. I won't be shocked if she does, but she won't win with my money on her.
Yeah. Hopefully, Pratt can find a way to wake her up again and return to the form she had last year. But I agree. She seems to be tailing off just a touch there. We'll go to the 4. Jackson, we'll stick with you for Dorth Vader, a horse who was paired together a couple of very nice efforts coming out of the Molly Pitcher as well.
Yeah, I just feel like she could get, assuming the 5 stays in, she could get a good trip in here. She was bad last time. She was just parked right outside of randomized. She was supposed to run a lot better than she did, and that's the problem with her most recent start. But I guess maybe she wants to be a little bit further off the pace last time. She's gonna be 6-1. I think it's a decent price. Hoping this race falls apart a little bit and knowing that I don't want the 7 at all in this spot. So she'd be second for me, but I'm really all about the 6, I think, in this race.
Yeah, I think the 6 Leslie's Rose makes a lot of sense. But yeah, Dorth Vader, she's a little quirky. Again, the Ogden Phipps race that was run over that track that took inches of rain in the span of maybe 45 minutes. I'm willing to dismiss all the efforts out of that, even though she ran really strongly. I'm with you. Last time out, she should have run better. But I am willing to give her one more shot over a track that she's run well at in the past. So yeah, I'll give her a look as well. But I'm with you. The number 6 Leslie's Rhodes was a bit of a standout, especially if the number 5 Bernie Takes Charge remains in the race. No love for Dazzling Move here.
Why?
That's a good answer.
I mean, he couldn't beat Leslie's Rose last time, sort of on the front end. There's more pace in here, and I don't know. I don't see she couldn't beat Dorth Vader when she had a pace advantage there too. She's not for me, but she's a price. People like her.
She is a price. Maybe kind of an underneath play, as she's never quite been that winning type up top versus this field. But Moving on through race number 9, I'm 643, Jackson 647, Andy 617. We'll go now to the H. Allen Jerkens, one of the most fun races, in my opinion, to handicap on this sequence that we're going through here. Picks are up on the screen. I went 4-5-1, Jackson 8-6-1, Andy 4-3-7. Chancellor McPatrick is the number 4, 5-1. But Jackson, we'll start with you. Bob Baffert sending in a horse that we're all too familiar with, the number 8 Matticat Road. Last race in the Woody Stevens, did ship back out west and now shipping back out east once again. You gave this one your top pick.
Yeah, look, this is a really cool race. I mean, I think you can make a pretty decent case for a lot of the horses in this spot. I just think he's drawn a lot better than he has been his last couple of races, and that could be the difference in here. He was kind of on the rail the whole time, and in the Churchill Downs race, the rail is not the place to be that day. Thought he ran fine in that spot. And then last time, he stumbled a little bit at the start, was kind of behind horses, made an early move. He was clearly second best, and I think Patch Adams won that race pretty decisively. I don't think anyone's here to argue that. But I do think the switch to the outside post could be a difference maker. He'll be able to, to play the break a little more, working really well from at Delmar, watching his works. He looks like he's doing really well. So he's a big enough price in this spot. I think I want to put him on top, but like I said, you can make good cases for just about anyone in here.
You certainly can. There looks to be a decent amount of pace in here over this 7 furlong distance. That's ultimately what got me to land on the number 4, Chancellor McPatrick. I believe that turn back from the Curlin Stakes now back to the 7 panels will be to his benefit. Andy, how did you see it as you also landed with Chancellor on?
Yeah, I like him. Turnbacks off wins for Chad Brown. It's not too much of a sample size, but 5 for 19, 294 ROI over the last 5 years. And my feeling, 12 of them hitting the board. I feel like Chancellor finally sort of got it together last time out, and he did it at a distance that's probably a little farther than he's best at. Now, he had a very good trip to win it. I won't deny that, but I thought it was a huge step forward for him. And you're talking about a horse that wasn't far off from being good enough to win this race as a 2-year-old. And while he disappointed a lot as a 3-year-old, his last race to me says that maybe he's finally getting his act together. And if he can do that, I think the turnback's perfect for him. I think I agree with Jackson. I think this race is wide open. I can't argue with any pick anybody makes on any horse in this race. You want to just assign me a horse to pick, and I'll make a case for that horse. And I think what you said about the 8 is valid. I didn't put him in there, but I definitely feel like he can win. But I think Barnes is a tricky horse. His San Felipe was good enough to win this race, right? And what if he still is that horse, right? If he's that horse, he might smash this field and not be a particularly short price. It's a long way to go. I know he's got to win grade 1s with him, but I'm not sure he can't win the race. So I was sort of mostly interested in 3 and 4 here. But like I said, someone could tell me they pick any horse in here, and I wouldn't argue with them.
I do like the fact that you're giving Barnes another shot in here. You're finally going to get a price, or a better price, I should say, on a runner who in his first 4 has never been above 5-2. You should get every bit of 9-2 in here, I'd imagine, with plenty of betting interests. He's a very tricky horse. He's obviously been reset since that Santa Anita Derby 5th place finish. Hopefully he's grown up a little bit, and we're going to see a new version of him. Verifier is – go ahead, Jackson.
I just want to ask you guys, because you both have Chancer on top. Do we think he's going to get the pace setup he needs in this spot? Because obviously a lot of the speed horses are all trained by the same trainer in here. I have a tough time envisioning, multiple Bafferts kind of getting each other's way on the front end. And Chancer probably pass early, right?
I mean, the 2 has to go. Doesn't the 5 have to go? Doesn't the 6 have to go? Or is the 7 a bit forward in here? I mean, the other thing about Chancellor McPatrick, I don't think he was winning his races last year because these paces were so super hot. I think he was just a good one-turn closer. So I'm not sure he needs more than sort of an honest pace to make his run. And I think it's a question of running. I guess a lot of things in this race should depend on pace. I think this is the kind of race where people should have an open mind. And, like the 7 who I put 3rd, Captain Cook. My argument for him is a lot of people like Smokin' Wicked. Not me. I was wrong. But a lot of smart people liked him last time, and they were dead right. Why, if they liked him, isn't the horse that he was hounding the race before that playable in this race is the longest shot on the board? And it's not like Rick Dutro's been setting the world on fire, and Todd Pletcher's horse is running very well. So I think there's an argument to be made for a horse like that at a price that I want to include. I just feel as though I think it'll be a fairly run race, Jackson. I agree with you. It doesn't have to be some sort of meltdown, but I don't think that Chancellor McPatrick needs a meltdown to win this race.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think if he can,
needs to show up,
kind of get his head on straight, right? Be focused on running. I think he's able to go into even a modest pace, as you mentioned. But the 7 Captain Cook definitely with the points that you mentioned, I think is the longest shot in the field. Makes a fair amount of sense. Quickly on Verifier, Jackson, we covered this card at Churchill last time he ran, where I picked this horse on top a little bit begrudgingly. We didn't get, I forget what he was on the morning line, but he was certainly pretty low.
Like 6-1 or something.
Yeah.
Another
which we
bad
didn't
line.
get compost time.
Shocking.
I know, which we did not get compost time, but he kind of proved that he was the goods to me in that race. So I picked him second in here. I think if he's going to take another step forward, he seems to be getting better. Flavien, opts to ride here, which it makes a lot of sense. He's going to stick with that top runner. I think this winner for Brad Cox is really just coming into his own. So I'm excited to see him run back, just hoping he doesn't get caught up in too hot a pace. That's kind of where I'm going to put my trust in Flavien Prat to not get him into that kind of trouble being between foes or something like that early. But I don't anticipate
last time he just got the perfect trip. I mean, he just looked awesome the entire time, and now he's got 3 legit speed horses to his outside. It's gonna be a much different trip today or on Saturday than it was last time. He also got outworked pretty clearly by Patch Adams, I thought, last week. So that was the other.
Oh, he did. Okay. I mean, I thought I agree with you. He had last time he drew outside of the 2 horses that are now outside of him in this race. Having said that, he did win pretty easily. It's not like he wasn't impressive. He's good. I'm not going to take a stand against anybody here. Honestly, I don't see any horse in this race I want to make a huge case against. Do you?
No, not really. Andy, before we talk about Patch Adams, and Jackson, I'll ask you the same question. If you're playing a horizontal wager, this is a very wide open 8-horse field. Andy, is this the kind of race where you'll spread, or are you going to kind of take a stand with one horse and hope to have, use that as a bit of a separator in these horizontal sequences?
I hadn't really thought about it. To tell you the truth, I think I'm not a guy who wants to use a zillion horses, and it depends where I go in other races as far as playing pick fives. I think for betting this race individually, I really think you have to keep an open mind and see where the prices are, because there are going to be a horse or two that are forgotten. There's going to be a horse in here that we thought would be 4-1, that's 6 or 7-1, and there's going to be somebody we thought would be 4-1 or so that might be even shorter. I don't know. I found this race intriguing and interesting, but I don't want to, let's say Chance McPatrick and you and I both pick him. Let's say the public jumps all over me 7-2 in here. We really want to bet him at 7-2. So I think you have to decide, this is a really fun race and entertaining, but I don't want to tell you, I'm not going to tell you I love somebody in here. And I can't tell you I hate anybody in here. I really think this is truly one of those races. What if Barnes gets forgotten? If Barnes gets forgotten, he's 6-1. Now, when he runs 5th, we'll say they knew and he was dead. But I think if he's 6-1, I'd be loving to bet on Barnes in this race, because this horse ran a 105 buyer, and even he thinks he lost to journalism in San Felipe. This is a really good horse that's just kind of been forgotten. And Bob does ship him across the country to run here. Now, granted, he's got to try to win a Grade 1. He costs $3 million, and they're doing that, but. So he's got this in the Malibu, but it's not like Bob runs horses just indiscriminately. I have to think he's doing well enough to send them.
Yeah, I would think so too. He wouldn't just send 3 horses out here just for the fun of it. They'd all have to be doing well, and they'd all have to be ready for this kind of spot. Jackson, I'll ask you that same question before getting your thoughts on. Actually, I'll get your thoughts on the number 6, Smokin' Wicked, who you picked in second. But first question to you: if you're playing this in a horizontal, you taking a stab and trying to single, or are you spreading pretty deep?
I mean, a lot of it depends on who you like in the other legs, obviously. If you like a price and you feel good about it, you single it. If you really feel like this is truly a wide open race, then I think you're supposed to just take the long shots and hope one of them come in and blow this thing up a little bit. If you truly feel like it's that wide open of a race.
There you go.
It just depends on what your opinion is.
Yeah, very fair. An opinion you have is the number 6, Smokin' Wicked, coming off the Grade 2 Amsterdam win. Tell us more.
Yeah, just did nothing wrong last time. I mean, ran out the screen, kind of beat the field pretty easily. Now he's drawn well again on the outside. A lot of it depends on what the 7's going to do in here. If the 7, Captain Cook taking the blinkers off, still is forwardly placed, then maybe he doesn't get as good of a trip. But he's got numbers that fit. He's 6-1 in this race and drawn well, speedy type. Things I like for sure.
He was terrific last time.
He was. He blew that field apart, and that was pretty nice. But Andy, you brought up a very nice point in that there are going to be horses in this field that are forgotten about, that have every reason in their past performances to win. I would say the one kind of dark horse is the number 2, Midland Money, who won last out here at Saratoga just a couple weeks ago, who obviously showed a great deal of improvement and showed that same speed, if not even a little bit faster. Stayed in Saratoga, so didn't ship back home, thankfully. So fired in a quick bullet here on the 17th, but we'll go down to the Rail Runner as Patch Adams, a horse that you and I picked in third, Jackson. What do you like about him?
To me, it just feels like the horse to beat. I mean, he was really impressive in the Woody Stevens. Now, in that race, I thought he got a really good trip in there, too. Like, the speed horses were to his inside. He never took dirt at any point. There was never horses outside of him. But he also won that race very, very decisively. It wasn't like the race was ever in doubt. And you look at what he's done around one turn. I mean, he's really done nothing wrong. So he's way the horse to beat. She just needs to work out a trip from that post. And you are going to take a short price on him, probably. He's the morning line favorite. You probably will go off favorite, I have to think.
Yeah, I would imagine he's going to go off as the favorite. And again, as we were just talking about, if a horse gets kind of hammered in here, and I don't really want to take a horse less than 3-1 in this spot with a race this competitive and this deep. So hopefully he maintains right around 3-1. I think that'd be fair enough given his caliber of work. But also he drew the rail, so he might be, might face a little more adversity than some of the others in here that are just as talented.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a strong opinion on or against. I'd probably play against him here, but he could win. His last race was good.
I think we talked about every horse in this field. So we'll move on now to race number 11 to recap race number 10, the H. Allen Jerkens. I am 4-5-1. Jackson is 8-6-1. Andy 4-3-7. Race number 11 is the Grade 1 Ballerina Stakes for 3-year-old and upward fillies and mares. I went 9-3-2. Jackson 3-9-2. Andy 3-7-9. Andy, I don't think we've started with you yet. We'll go with the number 3 Majestic Oops, a horse that you're picking on top in this 7 furlong affair.
Right, but honestly, for all three of us to like this horse, he's obviously not as interesting as we all thought he was in here.
Right.
I'm sorry, but this horse is a big price in the line, and if the 3 idiots up here noticed her, she's far from as interesting as I clearly thought she was, and maybe this is one of those races I end up reevaluating if I find out the whole world picks her. And if I find that out, I will reevaluate because I don't need her at 5-1 here. My feeling was that she's a turn back. The trainer has decent numbers with turn back. She's been keeping good company. And there's a lot of horses in here I just don't completely trust. I'm getting tired of Cilia. She can win, Cilia, but I'm getting tired of her. I don't think Hope Rose is as good as those 2 big figures she ran, though she could certainly win. My Main Squeeze, yeah, she's not impossible, but she got a super slow pace last time. I kind of want to see Claret Barrett do it here in Saratoga. And they're the contenders. And I thought Majestic Oops on the turn back, like you guys obviously did, was an interesting horse. She seems like a new horse for Dan Ward. She's turning it around. But honestly, if all of us like this horse, she's not nearly as interesting as I thought she was. I think I respect your opinions, but I think we're all sort of going down Wise Guy Lane here. And when everybody's on Wise Guy Lane, we're not wise guys, we're suckers.
Yep. Well, that makes me feel really good about the Travers. Little bit of a teaser there, but Jackson, we also landed on the number 3 Majestic Oops. At least for me, I love when Kendrick Carmouche is aboard on a turn back, just because he is so aggressive. So he's able to get that forward position for a horse that likes to come from a little bit off of it. But I think Kendrick's going to have this one forward enough that turning for home, she's going to be in a very threatening position as the other wise guy in this group of 3.
You think she's going to be forward? You think she's going to be forward in this race?
Not forward. I don't think she's going to be as far out of it as maybe a more passive jockey would be, because she does kind of have that one run in her. So I like that Kendrick is good at getting a horse out of the gate, good at getting good position, and then we'll kind of assess from there.
Okay.
I don't completely disagree. I watched her last 3 replays. She breaks on top every single time, and then they kind of take her back to mid-pack. She has fast these horses early. No, she's not. But I don't think she's going to be 10 lengths out of it in this race.
Well, also it's important to note that it's very likely, I assume, that Mystic Late's not running, and she's
right.
a potential speed down inside because she's in that preposterous 4-horse field that Bava needed to ship to West Virginia to run it for $250,000 down there, as opposed to a race she might have been favored in a Grade 1. It never ceases to amaze me.
Yeah. Question, speaking of horses that aren't showing up here, there is a horse on the West Coast that, given is coming out of a race not too long ago, so I understand why she didn't ship out of that, but we don't see Copian out here, who won on Derby Day. Maybe it's just because that last race, going 9 furlongs in the Clement L. Hirsch maybe took a little bit out of her, but I was disappointed not to see them point for this spot in the Ballerina, where I think she would be the clear favorite.
Mandela said after the race at Churchill, I'm going to go to Saratoga for either the Better Roses or the Ballerina. Mm-hmm. And that was obviously not true. And he's not a guy who ships very often. I don't know. This is the race she should have been in. I mean, at least Ways and Means got sick. She She has a valid excuse for not running. As far as Kopi and taking a different path, I guess it sort of goes along with the way he trains. He doesn't really ever want to ship.
Yeah, he doesn't. But when he does, he typically ships with meaningful ones. Obviously Go Rocket Ride comes to mind. Goliad last year at Kentucky Downs, and Kopian earlier this year. We'll go to the outside. Jackson, you and I have some love for the number 9 Kopian, number 9 Hope Road, as does Andy. I picked this one in first, you in second, Andy in third. I know there's those 2 numbers that kind of stick off the page. I just think she can kind of get back to that. 2, 3, 4 back, you face a runner like Kopian. Last time out, I thought 6 furlongs is just too short for where she's going to be best at. So
she was bad though, wasn't her last race?
It was not the 6 furlongs. She was awful. She was really bad.
She was terrible. I don't know what. She's run all right at 6 furlongs before. She was 4 to 5. She was like pathetic, I thought. But.
Yeah, no, she was certainly a letdown that day, but comes back in here. I do like her more at 7 furlongs. That's just my personal opinion. But Jackson, anything to add on why you picked this horse in second?
I have her second because she was terrible last time, but I do think her races 2 and 3 back I think they make her the horse to beat. I don't need Scylla ever again. I've had enough of Scylla for a lifetime. So I do think if she runs back those races 2, 3 back, she's the horse to beat. She's drawn well on the outside. She's speedy in a race that doesn't have a whole lot of speed, especially if the one comes out like we're expecting. I mean, there's really not much speed in here, so she's probably going to get a pretty good trip from out there.
Isn't Alina's Fort going to go? Alina's Fort? I mean, she's probably the speed in here.
She could. Right? Yeah, she could. I mean, she came off the pace last time and rode the gold rail, so I don't know if I really want to.
No, I don't want her, but she's probably.
Yeah, it just depends what Rosario does. It's interesting. It becomes a much more murky pace scenario if this one comes out of this race. So.
I agree.
Ryan, what do you make of this 4 consecutive 6 furlong workouts on this horse? I don't think I've ever seen that.
Not from Baffert. That's certainly a unique one. I don't know what to make of it. I saw the workout on August 9th over the Del Mar track, and I mean, it was a typical Baffert work. It was very strong. Like, the horse looks good, but 4 straight 6 furlong works isn't something that I'm too familiar with him doing. They've all been quick, so maybe it's just this horse has kind of been sitting on go, so they want to let her run a little bit, stretch her legs. That's pretty much all I could wrap my head around. What about you? Anything?
No, I just thought it was interesting. Like, he works his horses 6 furlongs. He does not do it 4 times in a row.
Anybody here like Claret Beret here? I mean, she has been pretty good since she was switched to Safi Joseph. I mean, he's not having a bad meet. He's not having a great meet, but he's not having a bad meet. His horses are running pretty well. Their last races were pretty good, weren't they?
Yeah, those 2 races were good. I looked up a stat, and I forgot it, but I believe he is 2 for 25 in graded stakes on dirt up at Saratoga. So I didn't love that he'll come in here with a fair amount of horses. I think 25 is a fair sample size, and doesn't seem to be getting the job done versus that top quality of competition in the graded stakes. So that was one of the reasons I was against, and just the other is we'll probably need another little bit of a step up here for Claret Beret, but you're getting 6-1 on Safi and Irad, so I wouldn't fault anybody for going that way.
I'm not sure how much she has. I think she has to reproduce those races. I think if she reproduces those races, she's a big time player. I don't trust Hope Road. I can't bet her off of that last race, but she can obviously win.
I'm a little bit, Jackson, are you a little bit surprised that Baffert didn't have one of his, West Coast jockeys like Juan Hernandez come out, considering Baffert has 2 or 3 races where he has runners in this card?
Maybe a little bit. I mean, we'll see what he's got on Saturday. He could have, maybe there's a 2-year-old monster unveiling on.
That's true.
Maybe he just wanted to ride good riders in the East Coast.
Yeah, maybe. Hey, I mean, he gets Jose Ortiz for a couple of them. That's no slouch. You get Johnny V.
I don't think he did badly with Jose. So
no, I don't think so either. Jose having a hell of a meet, by the way. He's worth a shout out. So is Ricardo Santana and Kendrick. But those are all things that we know. Horse that we haven't talked about, who is your morning line favorite, is the number 7 Scylla. Jackson, you mentioned you've had enough of her. I had enough of her a couple back. But Andy, you picked this one second, giving her one more chance.
If she was 4-1, I'd bet her here. If she's 5-2, I wouldn't bet her. I agree. I've kind of had enough, but everybody had enough of Sierra Leone, everybody but me, I guess. But, and the reality is I don't really think she liked the mud last time. And she also was not on the rail, which was the place to be. She was on it early. She got off of it. I can't knock her races. I think she's a major player in this race. She's getting a little tiresome. And at 5-2, I don't need her. I thought Hope Road would be favored. David made her favorite. David's usually right. So I'll sort of go with that. But, once again, I think all of these races, you want to keep an open mind. What happens when the horse that we like goes off at 5-1 in here? Are we suddenly really that interested in her? What about when Barrette goes off at a bigger price than the 3? Then suddenly I'm much more interested in her. So, it's one thing, when you're a public handicapper, you're doing these picks well in advance, you make picks, but you, as a player, you still have to be able to say, hey, I may only pick this horse, but I can't bet this horse this price, but I can bet this other horse that I thought would be a much shorter price. So I'm not somebody that likes to bet against the picks I make, despite, some morons who think I spend twice as much time figuring out who to lie about and then who to bet on. I bet on my picks in general, but I bet a lot of third choices that are 8-1 that I thought would be 4-1 when my horse I pick like 5-1 ends up at 2-1. So I think you have to keep an open mind. And I think this is another race where, what if Scylla all of a sudden everybody abandons her like you guys have, and she ends up 4-1? Maybe suddenly she's a lot more interesting. So I don't have a strong enough opinion in this race that I want to cement myself to anybody. I'm going to put my picks out, but you have to be willing to adapt, right?
You do, and that's you bring up a really good point that you're not abandoning your picks if you ever go with somebody else. It's emphasizing the value and finding the value in a race. If there's a horse that's forgotten about and drifts up in price, you have to take advantage of those spots. That's how you get ahead.
Any horse player's going to do that. I mean, listen, I've been around a lot longer than you guys. I was playing horses full time, I think, before you guys were born. But, you guys have been playing for a while, and you know that. How many times have you bet a horse you thought was the third or fourth likeliest winner that went up at 12 or 15-1 that you weren't even that thrilled with in the beginning? But you're like, I have to bet a few dollars. And it seems like you get rewarded making those bets. You can't just marry yourself to these picks you make in advance. That's what losers do. That's why people get buried in off the turf races, right? They're so eager to bet on a horse in the turf race that they can't help but bet in a dirt race. And now it's a completely different race, and they're not even willing to re-handicap the race. You've got to be able to think on your feet.
You do. You have to be able to adapt and adjust as is necessary. Jackson, we haven't heard your voice in a while. You and I like the number 2 Brightwork, who will likely be on the rail come post time. She clearly loves Saratoga. John Ortiz knows how to train this one. You get Johnny V aboard. Serious win candidate for sure, right?
I don't know about serious. I just know there's a lot of horses in this race I really don't want. And if the one does come out of this race, then maybe they're just super aggressive with her from the rail, and she can get forwardly placed and can be a little dangerous in here. Obviously, she does, like Saratoga. She seems to be working well too. In the August 9th workout I saw, she looked pretty good. So, her last couple of races weren't great, but the 2-back one, she was chasing too sharp. And then I don't know, last time she was awful, but she needs to get back to those better races from last year. At a price, I think I'd be interested in her. But if she comes down, I would need at least 15-1, maybe even more.
She's got to be a huge price in here, doesn't she?
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah. She really only has one race that wins here. If you look on her, maybe even gets close here. A couple of things attracted me to her. One was, Johnny V taking the mount, I think is big. Him and John Ortiz have had a lot of success with a nice ROI. Looking at just Saratoga, it's 1 for 3. Looking overall, it's 2 for 7 with above a $5 ROI, both of which are pretty strong. That and then that 2-back work that you mentioned, Jackson, was very strong. And I love when, a horse can turn in a sharp work like that. And then that next work, they really just kind of back them down. Just nice little maintenance drill. Kind of shows me that this horse is ready. They don't need her to do anymore. So I like Brightwork coming in. I'm with you. I'm going to need at least 12-1 is what I put down as, value that I would need to bet her. But she's one I would include on my horizontal tickets because I think she could separate a little bit. She might be forgotten about.
Is My Main Squeeze impossible here? I mean, I know she got a crazy slow pace last time. It was basically, a 5-furlong race for her with an advantage. Yeah. But what's a big race? And I don't love her, but she's another one. What if she gets sort of lost in the wagering? She's not totally impossible.
No, I don't disagree with that at all. And we've been talking about how the horse on the rail might scratch. And if so, I mean, Saya certainly knows how to be aggressive. So
she's in a 4-horse field at Charlestown. I can't imagine there's any chance she's running this race.
Yeah, I share your opinion there. I would imagine she's got to go there. But Saez could be aggressive and get My Main Squeeze right back out in front. And I know last route was a slow race, but the figures came back strong. Maybe that's kind of her best way to go now. Maybe they try and kind of repeat that effort.
Well, it was a paceless race. I mean, it was not this race. She's she's not really as fast as these. So I don't
No.
think she's going to be on the lead. I just, she's not a horse that's impossible, and she drew pretty well in here. That's all.
And she ran away from that field. It's not like she got the crawling pace and won by a length and barely they ran around. I mean, she separated from that field pretty easily. So
she did.
It feels like a race you could be confident in that. If she runs back to that, she'll be rough. Yeah,
she won the right. She won the right way. I'm with you.
The only really bad race was the Chicago. She was bad in that race.
Yes, she was. That race, there was really no getting past it. She was just bad.
I thought she was terrible. Right. I bet her. She was bad.
We talked about the 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, and 8, so we might as well talk about the number 6 Zeitlos. I would imagine she just needs an absolute pace meltdown here to get to a win, and she also needs to improve on a lot of the figures she's able to run.
Yes.
Jackson, any love for her?
Little short. I mean, I will say in the Chicago that was kind of a slow pace too, and she's really on the horse that kind of ran from off of it. So maybe give her some credit for that. But I think she needs more pace than she's probably going to get in this spot. Yeah,
you mentioned the Chicago. She also seems to run a little bit better at Churchill Downs than she does outside of Kentucky. So, maybe it's kind of like that she loves that track. We see that all the time. Horses like Bango, X, Y, and Z. Wrapping up the grade 1 Ballerina, I went 9-3-2, Jackson 3-9-2, Andy 3-7-9. Going on to race number 12, the 7 furlong grade 1 Forego Stakes over the dirt, throwing the picks up on the screen. I went 4-5-1, Jackson 8-4-7, Andy 4-5-8. Jackson, we're going to start with you out to the number 8, Scotland, who I know you've been itching to see this horse back in the entries, so I like that you picked this one on top. Go ahead.
Yeah, I've been waiting for this horse to run back more than anyone else at the meet. Didn't really think it'd be in this race against the grade 1 horses, but, here he is, and I got to pick him in here. So, look, that day was another big rail bias day, and you watched that race specifically. The other horses that were in the Super were just glued to the rail majority of the race, and they were all prices, too. It wasn't like they were favorites. I think Concrete Glory was like 15-1. Little Nye was 10. It came back to win, and then the 4th place horse, 24 Mamba, was I think 16-1 as well, and 15-1. They were all just glued to the rail the whole time. Big inside bias day. This horse was just parked out there the entire race, and I thought he ran really well in that spot to still finish 3rd that day. So I want to give him a look in here too. I don't know if he's going to get the pace he needs. I don't know if he's necessary that's good, but I've been waiting too long not to bet him back in this spot. I'll definitely have some 4-8 exactos in this race too. So hopefully he can move forward second off the bench and run a big race. And it's tough to ignore what Mott and Alvarado are doing right now. They're just been red hot for months.
I think everybody that's following trips, I mean, most of the tracks have been fair at this meet, but that was an extreme bias when it rained. I agree. He ran great, but he's never run a race that's remotely good enough to win this race. That's the problem with him. But maybe his last race, if you factor in the bias, etc., maybe the number is closer to 100, and that does give him a chance here. But this is a tough spot. I put him 3rd for all those reasons, but man, he's going to have to run a race he's never run before. That's my problem with him. But he's a big price, and I agree with everything you said otherwise. You're right.
Yeah,
you're right. You said.
He's going to have to run a number he hasn't run before at 5 years old. So I'm not sure he can do that. But Jackson, again, playing off that bias out last time, certainly deserves the chance to go forward. This is my strongest opinion in the sequence. I love this horse. I love Bookham Dano. He's just become a picture of consistency. When this field came out, I looked at the past performances, watched all the replays, tried to find a reason to pick against him, and I just could not. Paco and this horse get along. Paco and Bookham Dano get along so well. Derek Ryan's done an excellent training job. I couldn't find an alternative. I'll single this horse in all the sequences that I play. Obviously a win bet as well. I hope we can get 8-5. I don't know about that.
Does 8-5 feel like value on this horse a little bit? I mean, isn't he way the likely it's winner?
He's way the horse to beat. I mean, but it's a big field, and there's horses near that are a little interesting. But he's the best sprinter in the country right now, Bookham Dano. And his connections keep asking where we should run him, and I said, I don't know, he's the best horse in the country. What race shouldn't be on the table, right? Like, there's no sprint you shouldn't consider him for. And I'm the same as you, Ryan. I can't pick against him. I want to try to beat favorites, but I don't see why I should try to pick against him. I like you. I like that Extra Neo is kind of the interesting other horse. I thought he just didn't finish at a mile last time, and I thought maybe the cut back to 7 might help him a little bit. No disrespect to Curtis, but it is not a great rider change to go from Flavien Prat to him. He rides fine, but still, I thought Extra Neo was a price that was worth using. He seems like a horse that might have a race. I thought his race 3 back was good enough to give him a chance to win here.
I agree, and I don't think that you can have a rider upgrade if Flavien Prat is getting off of your horse. Personally, but I really like the way Ben Curtis has ridden this year. Turf and dirt, I think he's really kind of taken a step forward. So I've loved what I've seen from him. So I don't necessarily lose too much confidence. And you mentioned the cutback from the angle out of that, or the cutback from the mile out of the Hanshin Stakes. That second to last call, he was right there, about a furlong and a half out. That puts him right in the mix down here. But again, this isn't one I could pick on top. I had to take him underneath. I think Bookham Dano is just a little bit too good for the rest of this group. Even though it's competitive, he drew well again. I just imagine Paco is going to work out another nice trip with this one.
I also think it's interesting. Bookham Dano had to be closer last time because on paper the pace wasn't that fast. And even though it ended up being a solid enough pace, I thought he was a little out of his game being that close. And there's more pace in here. And I think that helps him even more as opposed to Mulliken, who's going to have to probably deal with more speed in this race than he's been dealing with lately. I mean, isn't Full Moon Madness, if he can get out of the gate, supposed to be forward? Obviously, Hold My Bourbon is going to go in this race with Louis on the outside. So I think this pace may be less favorable for Mulliken and more favorable for Bookham Dano.
I agree with that, and we'll stay on Mulliken right now. As Jackson, you picked this one in third. First, anything to add on the number 4, Bookham Dano, and then take it away with the number 7, Mulliken?
Nope, he's the horse to beat. This is the second most likely winner, in my opinion. I'm not really sure how he's supposed to turn the tables on Bookham Dano after the last 2 trips. I thought he was going to win the True North for fun, and he got run down pretty easily. And then I thought he was going to win the Vanderbilt, and he got run down pretty easily in that spot too. So I think he needs Bookham Dano not to show up to probably beat him, but I still think he's the second most likely winner. I'm not going to be betting him to win.
I think you're right. He is the second likeliest winner. On the other hand, I'm going to side with the Bookham Dano's going to beat him. And then if I'm going to try to beat Bookham Dano, it's going to be somebody like your horse or Extra Neo or somebody weird. Or even the one most wanted. He's obviously not impossible.
No, he's not. And I picked him in third, and he's a horse that obviously he's a half to life is good and everything like that. But I think 7 furlongs might be in his wheelhouse. I hope he comes from a little bit off the pace. He's been up on some slow paces, which tells me he's not going to be super forward in a spot like this. I'm just really hoping the trip works out. 5-1 is not way too low, but it's too low for a horse that I think is going to, get a substantial class test against real, World Caliber sprinters in this. He's obviously faced good horses going long, but now he's really got to, hold up to
he's pretty
the best
good,
sprinters in the country.
He
is pretty good. He's consistent. He shows up every time. He's never been worse than second in his 8 lifetime starts. So I do expect a good effort out of him. And I'm hoping the turn back and maybe getting some pace in front of him where he can, not have to be the pace setter, but rather, come from behind and chase some horses down like he did on his debut. That was very impressive at Keeneland, I will say, winning on debut for Brad Cox. So I'll give him one more chance in here. I'll use him underneath, but again, it's Bookham Dano on top pretty decisively for me.
All right.
We mentioned the pace is probably going to come from Hartley, Full Moon Madness, who drew the 3-hole. Bishop's Bay, I thought was maybe a tad bit interesting, getting Irad in here. I don't know. He was one of those horses that I think might be best going longer, but has never really been in a race that has some fast pace to it.
He also rode a real huge bias when he won 2 back, and that's his one big figure.
Yeah.
So he's not for me.
That's fair. I remember he beat me that day. I had Quince Brew singled, so that I don't like living back to that race with that rail bias. Over and Ollie, Hold My Bourbon, and Doc Sullivan, all big long shots from the outside. With Hold My Bourbon over and Ollie likely to be part of the early pace scenario. To recap the picks of race number 12, the Grade 1 Forego, I went 4-5-1, Jackson went 8-4-7, and Andy 4-5-8. Move on now to our featured event, race number 13. It is the Grade 1 Travers Stakes, and look at these 3 wise guys up here.
Yeah, this is another indication that Sovereignty MS is a cinch. I mean, it's a little preposterous, and all 3 of us try to beat.
Sovereignty's going to roll. I think we all. I went 1-4-2, Jackson 1-4-2, Andy 1-4-3.
Somewhere Kaylee is cursing us right now. Oh, we should ask her to hop on just for this race.
Yeah, she's got to be. The number 1 is Magnitude, and we'll talk about. You know what? We'll just talk about Magnitude first. Yeah, something tells me.
Why don't we talk about Sovereignty first, and you guys say why you're trying to beat him?
I'm just trying to beat this horse for the sole fact that he is going to be 1-9 in a race where he's facing somebody new, and we've seen these heavy favorites go down before. Obviously, Sovereignty is a very, very special horse. I don't have a super strong opinion that
How
he's going to
special?
lose.
Hang on a second. You're not getting away with that here.
Okay.
How special is he? Let me ask you a question. Do you think he's a favorite to have been in the try in last year's Travers, being that he's so special?
Favorite to be in the try? I would say
Well,
so.
we know that the buyer was 111. Are we really sure he's better than the horses in the Travers last year? I think the entire thing about him is a big load of BS. I think there's so much hype over a horse that has exactly one really good race. He might be terrific, but I'm sorry. I feel like the reason I bet against him is I think he's being anointed as some sort of superstar because everybody's just desperate to be near the next best thing. And frankly, if he runs his Jim Dandy, he might win, but he's far from the lock if he runs his Jim Dandy. And I'm not willing to assume just because everybody says, oh, Bill didn't have him cranked for the Jim Dandy run. I'm just buying that at face value. I think those kind of opinions get people in trouble. That's why I'm against him. I think the whole world he's just says a fait accompli, he's going to win this race. And I'm hearing all this talk. He's the best 3-year-old since I don't know what. And I think he definitely is the best 3-year-old I've seen since Fierceness in Sierra Leone.
I don't look, I'm not trying to say he's better than either of those two runners. I'd have him in the try and I'd have him third. I think at his absolute best.
Well, now you say he is better than Sierra Leone. That's okay. You're allowed.
I got to call him Ryan for a minute for what he said yesterday.
Go for it.
Yesterday, Ryan texted me saying, oh, yeah, he wasn't cranked for the Jim Dandy. He was only 70% cranked up for that race.
I changed that to 85. I changed that to 85.
74%. I don't have the crank meter exactly perfect, but I'm still working on it. The crank meter is a bunch of BS also. More crap. Just all this nonsense. All this that you never hear about when they lose, but boy, you hear about when they win.
It reminds me a lot of the Torpedo Anna. She does just enough to win argument. Like, dude, no.
Right. Until she does. Right. They all do just enough to win until they don't. Right. Yeah.
Look, I do share your view, though, Andy, that this horse has been kind of anointed as this, superstar, and he's facing somebody he hasn't yet. No, you don't get all the similar foes that he's faced in Baeza and journalism and so on and so forth. You get a horse like Magnitude, a true speed horse as a 3-year-old. So I think if there was ever a chance where he'd face a foe that is equal to he has 2 races that put him, if not in front, then right up there with Sovereignty and all the good that he's done. So I thought this was the race to take a shot against him.
I agree. Now, how worried are we that Bracket Buster is going to take him out of his game? Because isn't that the concern?
Yep.
Yeah, a little bit. I feel like Magnitude is naturally quicker. I feel like if Ben Curtis is truly, from the rail, I think honestly helps Magnitude in a situation like this because you're going to have to go from that inside post. I know you have a substantial run into that first turn, but if you were drawn outside of Bracket Buster, maybe if Bracket Buster is really aggressive, you just kind of sit off. I think now Magnitude has to go. He's going to be he's not going to be forced. He's going to be aggressively ridden to clear off and have a nice, easy lead. Not easy lead, but a clear lead. And I think that's the key. I hope he goes, 46 to the half. To me, it's going to come down to that third quarter. I'm hoping he can take a breather there, and I think that's maybe what gives him a chance to spring it up.
You know, he goes 46 and a half. You realize that the Whitney, they went 47, and there were tears being shed about what a fast pace it was.
There were.
So if he's going 46 and a half, I like Sovereignty's chances. Sorry. I'm not saying I want him to go 48. I want him to go fast enough to use his speed like that, but I don't want to get carried away. I don't think it's the same as the races he was running the other tracks.
No, I don't. I think compared to the Iowa Derby and the speed bias that was present at Fairgrounds on Risen Star Day, I think this is a much different track than both of those. But I do think he's quick, and I know everybody, going 47 on Whitney Day, and they're saying what a fast pace that was. And it was pressured, though. You had 2 horses going at it. If you can do maybe 46 flat, it's a little bit too fast. But if you can go within yourself to whatever you can to the half, and then get a breather after that and maintain, that clean air, it's not impossible in my eyes.
I don't think Magnitude has proven that he's not good enough to win this race. How's that? I mean, I know it's not Iowa and it's not the Risen Star, but this guy ran a 108 buyer in the Risen Star, and I don't think it was some huge bias like some other people do in that day, and that was in February. And presumably he wasn't all cranked up that day, right? It was a prep. And then he comes off a long layoff, and there was no bias I could see at Iowa. In Iowa,
No.
the pace was honest, and he ran a huge figure again. He might be really good, right?
Yeah, he could be. He's the unknown. We haven't seen the best from him. Jackson, anything to add? We've been talking a lot.
No, look, I think the biggest question for Sovereignty up to this point is he hasn't really had to run down a really good speed horse yet. Magnitude might be that really good speed horse. I mean, if you look at the numbers he's run his last races, they're every bit as good as Sovereignty's. And he's going to be, I don't know, 2 times, 3 times the price in this fight. I mean, I think it's pretty obvious you're supposed to take at those odds. And I actually do like that bracket busters drawn outside of him because I do think they need to be. They don't need to fly, but you can't back this pace down. You back it down to a sprint, bro.
No, I agree. He's got to use. I agree. I'm teasing you about the numbers you're putting up at the pace, but I agree. I think that Magnitude has to use his speed as a weapon in this race. You know, I would like. I don't like to make money bets with friends because I don't want their money and they don't want mine. But I'd like to bet you guys a lot of money that Strategic Focus finishes ahead of Bracket Buster in here. I'm not convinced that Strategic Focus is not going to run well in this race. And I know his last race was a massive disappointment, but he also moved early in a race that collapsed late. Chad tells me he's working great with the blinkers, and Flavian is optimistic about his chances in this race. And, you know, if he had run the race we thought last time, he didn't run it. He might be the second choice in here. I don't want to completely dismiss him off the last race. Chad has been gung-ho about going in this race. And obviously it was the right move given how the field played out, right? He's sort of on a free roll regardless of that. But I think he's going to run a lot better. I don't know he's going to run enough to win. At the end of the day, Sovereignty's probably going to win this race. I just think there's reasons for us to bet against him. Is that fair?
Yep. Yes, that's very fair. I mean, we're looking for a reason to play against a 1-9 who is more or less beaten everything in his path. Handily-ish enough. Jackson, would any argument to say that Bracket Buster is going to finish ahead of Strategic Focus here?
I don't know. I just don't. I'm not convinced he really wants to go the 10 furlongs. You know, I was a little suspect of him 2 back when he got a little goofy at the end of that race. And then last time he made that early move, and he was, Pratt was getting after him as soon as they hit the top of the stretch. I think Pratt realized he was kind of in trouble, and maybe he just didn't move too early, and that's all it was there. But
Flavian thought he was going to win by a pole top of the stretch. Now I'm just letting you know what he said.
Say it again.
He thought he was going to win for fun top of the stretch.
So did I.
Yeah.
So did I that day.
We're all wrong.
I trust Pratt more than I trust myself. I think Pratt probably knows more than him.
Even Frank Miramati thought he was going to win by a pole the way he was calling. He looked like he was traveling really well. Sorry, go ahead, Jackson.
No, I don't think Chancer going 2 turns is a very good horse, and you got beat by Chancer going 2 turns. That's the other thing I worry.
Chancer got a very good trip to beat him, but nonetheless, it was disappointing. I won't argue with that. You're right. It was definitely a disappointing effort.
I will say the only reason I really want to Bracket Buster over Strategic Focus is I just thought the price would be better, and I don't love that Chad is 1 for 14 blinkers on in graded stakes. He given 8 of those are in the money, so maybe he will finish ahead of Bracket Buster. But
I don't like them either. But he's adamant that he's running better with them. But
it's also a big test. 4th career start to face these foes. He could get discouraged, but again, it seems like a 2-horse race, right? But Andy, I do have one question for you.
Isn't it? Well, no, I've just been thinking about it. Isn't it a bad sign that Pratt thought he was going to win for fun, and then he didn't hit the exacta afterwards, after all that?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a reasonable question. No, I listen. His last race is not going to get him any sniff in this race, except he'll beat Bracket Buster.
Now,
that I'm confident. The rest of it, I have no confidence in whatsoever.
I think Bracket Buster might get the. Oh God, what was her name today? What's the horse's name? The one that he ran.
Dry
powder.
Yes, the dry powder trip. You're going to run for 3rd. You're going to take her back on speed horse, and you're going to take her to last and just run for 3rd. That could be the.
Well, that's not what they wanted to do. That's why they took Lescano off that
right.
And
put my guy Science.
Now, as it turned out, she was terrible last time, regardless of what she did. Yeah. But nonetheless, they do have a right to be annoyed if they wanted to send her to lead, and he decided not to.
Last kind of question I have before we wrap it up. Let's say, obviously, I think the biggest now red flag that Magnitude's not going to win is the fact that the 3 of us all unanimously picked Magnitude to win, which is what Andy said here as we started off. Now, if Magnitude doesn't, if he gets passed by Sovereignty, does another horse round out the exacta? Because I feel like if Sovereignty runs up and past Magnitude, I feel like that might be kind of it. He might throw in the towel.
Well, what happens when Strategic Focus passes them all after that?
Well, I think Jackson and I will each send you $1.
I want $1.25 from Jackson. You can send me $1.
All right. That's
I think it's an interesting race, and I mean, I think we're all saying the same thing. I don't think any one of us thinks that Magnitude is the likeliest winner of this race. I think we're all on the same page that, like you say, he's never faced a true speed horse. Magnitude might be really good. And I'm just tired of reading about everybody conceding the race to Sovereignty. And so from my perspective, I'm always happy to be the one naysayer. You know, I think somebody has to be there, especially on our show, because I don't think you ever want to really get those situations in big races that the race is a fait accompli. Because, you know, if we really are doing these shows to appeal to, you know, at times to newer viewers, you don't want them saying, well, everybody told me that Sovereignty couldn't lose and he lost, so this game is rigged, or you can't trust it, or whatever it is. And I think if you have somebody at least willing to say, here's why I think he can lose and why I'm betting somebody else, at least there's somebody there. And I think we're all playing that role. Just happens we're on here together to say, he's probably going to win, but I think there's reasons to believe that he might not win. And you know, I think sometimes racing has missed the opportunity to explain to people why these horses aren't going to win because they're in such a hurry to anoint the next superstar. And I don't know what the big hurry is. I think at the end of the day, it would be nice. I know the Sheik is broke, so they have to retire him to stand him at stud. And I'd be happy to lend him $50 or $100 if he needs it to get through the year. But I don't view him like I view the other wealthy owners. I think they do have a right to take money off the table. I think the Godolphin, and I know the answer that Dan Pride would give, and I like and respect Dan, is, you know, we're running Godolphin, I guess, is a business here. It's separate from the Sheik. I don't buy it. I think that Bernardini should have run, and I'd love to see this horse run next year because he might be really, really good, but we'll probably never really get a chance because he's going to get his butt kicked by the older horses in the Breeders' Cup. So
that you led into one of the last questions I have for you. One, do we think that we can get better than 2-1 on Magnitude? Do you think 5-2, maybe 3-1 is in range?
Yeah, I do. What do you guys think? What do you think?
I would love 3-1. I mean, that'd be great. Jackson, do you think we can get better than 2-1?
You might get better. I would take 2-1. Right? I'm looking at their numbers. I don't think they're really that far apart, and you're going to get 3 times the price on them.
Maybe more. I mean, Sovereignty's got to be 1.
Maybe 1-5 versus 2-1.
Yeah.
Right, 10 times the price, whatever. Yeah.
Now, last question: if Sovereignty, we'll just say he rolls in the Travers, he gets like a 108. They go to the Breeders' Cup Classic. I mean, how excited are you, Andy, to bet against him in that spot?
Well, I don't think I'd be losing sleep between now and the beginning of November, but I mean, I don't want to sort of make my opinion now. I want to see what happens to the other horses, but I think if he was the favorite against, you know, Sierra Leone, and we'll see what Sierra Leone and what does in the Jockey Club. We'll see what Highland Falls does next time. I would rather bet Sierra Leone, but you know, all these things, it's a long way to go. We'll discuss it then because I'll see you then in California.
That sounds like.
What? Is Sierra Leone running next Saturday? Is he running that race?
Sunday.
Sunday.
Yeah, he's running the Jockey Club.
Yes.
I like that you guys.
It's Mindframe. I love Mindframe, by the way. I think Mindframe is I really like him. I don't think he's going to beat Sierra Leone in a 1.25 miles, and I don't think he should have beaten him in the Foster. But I really like Mindframe. I mean, what's the knock on Mindframe? He's never run a bad race. They threw him the Wolves early in his career. He survived it all. He wins at multiple distances. I think Mindframe is a super cool horse. He's kind of oddly one of my favorite horses in trading.
I completely agree with that. I like Mindframe over the other Rapoli runner, Fierceness, who I have just never been able to trust. I have a question while we're on the Mindframe subject, because I got to give it back to my guy Jackson here. In the races last year, in the Haskells and the Belmont, when he veered out and got a little wonky down the stretch, do you think that was a virtue of kind of immaturity, or do you think he was tired because he doesn't want that distance?
Probably both. Look, when it happens once, okay, maybe it's just a maturity thing. When it happened twice and he's going, these distance races, like horses, when they get tired, they do goofy things. And he was doing goofy things. Like he was going all over the track. He should not have lost either of those 2 races. And I know they threw him the Wolves. And I know they did all these things. But then he did that. And then he came back and it was the Foster. And he got the dream trip. And he was going down to coming down to a length at the end when he looked like he was going by 6 at the top of the stretch. Like it's a concern for me. And now he's going another extra furlong, and he's racing a really good horse.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to beat Sierra Leone. I just kind of like him. I mean, I just think he's like, he's won grade ones now from 7 furlongs to 1 1/8 miles. He's been effective at 1 1/4 miles. I guess he kind of won me over in the Belmont when I just thought he had no chance at all. And I thought he ran a terrific race that day. And so, I mean, I think just the fact that he's withstood the kind of handling that a lot of times just horses fall apart under that kind of handling. I don't think he's going to beat Sierra Leone at 1 1/4 miles. But he's actually, like you say, I just like him better than Fierceness. Fierceness wins when everything goes his own way, and he lays an egg when it doesn't. He's got that honor and serve quality to him. Whereas Mindframe, I feel like, when has he not shown up and run a good race? Never. Every time he runs really well. I don't think he's going to be Sierra Leone, but I still admire him.
Yeah, definitely. It'll be a fun matchup to see, especially to see how they bet that race, because Mindframe is obviously a very talented horse, and he'll take some money. I imagine Sierra is probably going to be the favorite, but we'll see come next week. But we went off on a little bit of a tangent there to wrap up the Travers. I went 1-4-2. Jackson the same, 1-4-2. Andy 1-4-3. Andy, thanks so much. I know this week is obviously very busy for you. Thank you for joining us for Travers Week. I appreciate it a ton, and as always, I enjoy the shows with you.
The pleasure was all mine. I'm always happy to spend a little time with you guys. We'll definitely do it again soon, I hope.
No doubt. Yeah, you're welcome back anytime. Sounds like we'll have you back before the Breeders' Cup.
Sounds good.
All right. Jackson, any parting words, my friend?
Nope. Looking forward to the Travers. It's going to be fun.
Absolutely. That's going as race number 13 this Saturday, August 23rd. Good luck to everybody. We will see you guys next week here on the Gallop Out.
Take care.